Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Boy, I hope you had a great weekend. The weather was good out there. We had a lot of activities going on. Rock the Country down in Berry County. We had the LPGA event at Blythefield over on the northeast side of Grand Rapids. By the way, I don't know if you saw the U.S. Open golf tournament, but the guy who won, J.J. Spawn, I think was his name, sunk a 64-foot putt on the 18th green to win it. So it's pretty exciting. You might want to look at that on YouTube or something like that. Quite a moment in golf. All right, let's take a look at some temperatures from over at Muskegon. We've had a general east wind here a number of days, and when the wind is strong enough, then you get the lake breeze, and when the wind weakens a little bit, then the wind comes in off the lake from the west. But a general east wind pushed the temperature to 1 o'clock on the Muskegon beach at 73 degrees there. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the wind had turned to the northwest, and the temperature had fallen 7 degrees. The temperature was down to 63 at 9 o'clock, and then the wind went calm at 10 o'clock. And between 9 and 10 o'clock, when the sun is setting, the temperature actually went up 5 degrees. So you get some really interesting swings there at the lakeshore. High temperature at the Muskegon Beach at 73, but the high temperature at the Milwaukee Beach was just 58 degrees because they had an east wind, and that was coming off the colder water of the lake. Let's take a look at some of the lake forecast and some water temperatures across the area. First of all, if you're at an inland lake, like Reed's Lake down on the bottom, temperature made it to 73. That's the temperature right at the surface, and that tends to fluctuate by about 4 degrees between sunrise and mid-afternoon, so keep that in mind. Other water temperatures included 60 at Muskegon, 59 Grand Haven, 56 at Holland, and 56 at Saugatuck. Winds during the day today, east to southeast, but only around 5 to 10 knots. Wind should be pretty light, and waves only running about 6 inches to a foot. All right, let's move on and take a look at fire weather. We've had just a tiny amount of smoke in the air here, and I think the southwest winds will clear the rest of that out. So no air quality alerts. And we've got an update on what's going on up in Manitoba, where the fires are raging there. There's 122 pieces of heavy equipment, mainly bulldozers, that are fighting the fires. 6 fires are deemed yet out of control, but that's down from 8 a week ago. They're up to 155 firefighters, and that's a good sign because that means that other areas, they can spare a few of those firefighters and move them over to the fires in Manitoba. 6 water bombers, I love those water bombers, 47 helicopters, that's the most they've ever had fighting the fires since I've been looking at records here. And 5 other aircraft, we assume those are dropping chemicals. So good news on the fire weather update. Nothing significant going on in the United States. Most of the fires are up in Canada. And taking a look at the hurricane update for you, we've had a number of systems in the eastern Pacific. We have Delilah, which gained tropical storm status and now is back to just a small depression, just some showers mainly drifting north, and even that will fade away. The X marks where the next storm is going to develop. That will be called Eric, E-R-I-C-K, and that will skirt along the Mexican shore. So along the southern shore there, they can expect some significant rain and maybe some gusty winds with that. It shouldn't turn out to be a major hurricane. And on the right side, you can take a look at the satellite picture from the Indian Ocean area and the Western Pacific. Normally, there's a hurricane or two to track this time of year, but there's nothing out there now. We had a tropical storm called Wu-Tip, and that has pretty much dissipated. By the way, in the far upper left, you can see the country of Iran, and you can see that it's fairly clear up there weather-wise. All right, we're going to take time out to thank our sponsors, and I'll turn things back to Michelle.
Complete Care Concierge, the fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. Complete Care Concierge has you covered. 616-264-1397.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
All right, our headlines: dry and warm today, should make it up into the low to mid 80s across the area. It will be a touch cooler near Lake Michigan as the winds turn off the lake during the afternoon. A strong storm is possible here Wednesday, late afternoon or evening, and we'll have more on that for you in a second. High temperatures in the 80s here most days this week, and a 90-degree temperature is possible next week. Maybe next Sunday could be 90 degrees here in West Michigan. All right, let's take a look now at the sunrise and sunset time. We're at 15 hours of daylight now. We gain 1 more minute before we hit the solstice, which comes up here on the 20th. Earliest sunrise occurred on Sunday, and the sun angle at noon is at 70 degrees, which means it's pretty high overhead. Average high temperature has now climbed to 80, and that goes as high as 83 here in mid-July. Okay, let's take a look at severe weather across the country. 2 enhanced areas showing up in the orange color there in Nebraska, and another one up in Minnesota, where there should be some wind damage and maybe some hail, even an isolated tornado or two. That's the outlook for Monday. And now let's look at the outlook for Tuesday. It sinks southeast down toward Kansas, where there's an enhanced area. And the yellow is the level 2, the dark green is the level 1, and the dark green comes east as far as Chicago and Milwaukee for Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. Our big day is going to be Wednesday, and if we can take a look at Wednesday's map, well, that will show you that area runs from Missouri up into southern lower Michigan. And if you take a look at what SPC says here down toward the bottom there, thunderstorms are expected to form along and ahead of a cool front. Damaging wind gusts will be the most likely severe threat. So if you got a softball league, a golf league, or something that you're doing on a Wednesday night, keep an eye on the fact that we could get some pretty good thunderstorms rolling on through along a cold front here towards the evening hour. Okay, how much is it going to rain across the area? You can see the heaviest rain is off to the west of us. By the way, look at east of the Rockies. Most of the area is seeing some significant rain. This is rain over a 66-hour period, so it takes us into Wednesday evening, and you can see where the storms are going to be coming into West Michigan here as well. But most of the state of Iowa picking up 1 to 2 inches of rain. That's going to really be good for the Corn Belt to get that corn growing out there. Iowa's a big state for that. We'll take a look at Michigan and show you what we expect here. You can see there are 2 little dots of yellow. It looks like the heavier thunderstorms are going to be coming in just the area we hope that could really use some rain. It's really dry at my house on the north side of Grand Rapids, but hopefully we'll get some much needed rain and hopefully not a lot of severe weather here. But the map right there is showing as much as 3/4 to some isolated reports of 1.5 inches of rain with the stuff coming in here on Wednesday. Okay, let's take a look then at what we expect over the day today. 85 degrees the high, a bit cooler near the lake by about 10 degrees. Low temperature at 60, humidity falls to 50%, and winds southeast at just around, in fact, much of the day it may only be about 5 miles an hour, so a rather calm day expected here. High temperatures then for the area. We'll see if we can take a look at some of those. 85 for Grand Rapids, 75 for South Haven right at the beach. That should be a nice day there. 81 up in Traverse City. Milwaukee will probably get more of a south wind than a southeast wind, but their temperature should be a good 15 degrees warmer later today than it was here during the day on Sunday. And let's take a look then at the day on Tuesday, and we'll be able to show you that the temperatures continue to heat up. 86 Grand Rapids, 84 Big Rapids. At the Lakeshore, 77 at South Haven, 90 down in Chicago, 89 South Bend. So some pretty warm air on the way here for early this week. Taking a look at the long-range outlook here out to 5 days, we're looking for mid-80s today, upper 80s on Tuesday, mid-80s on Wednesday. Pretty humid here Tuesday and Wednesday. We haven't had many humid days yet. Thursday, a shower could linger. I can't totally rule out a shower for Friday, but it's only 15% or so, so I did not include any raindrops there. But no sign of any really cold air here. Low temperatures could hold in the mid-60s here Tuesday and during the day on Wednesday. Long-range outlook out to 2 weeks continues to show above-average temperatures across much of the east, but that cool area out west is kind of working its way in our direction. And by cool, I mean temperatures during the daytime mid to upper 70s instead of mid to upper 80s. And I do think that, like I said, toward next weekend, early next week, we could be seeing a day or two up around 90 degrees. In terms of rainfall, again, above average precipitation over much of the country. And we'll have to see if that holds. But the area that they're most likely to see above average rainfall is up across parts of the Upper Peninsula and northern Wisconsin. They could really use some rain in the UP as well, as the water level of Lake Superior is down just a bit. Okay, Michelle, what you got for us here today?
June 16 is a super exciting day in Michigan and in history. So we've got so much to talk about. But first of all, weather records. It hasn't quite ever gotten to 100 on this day, but it got really close in 1952 when it was 96.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lowest was in 1947 with a low of 39. And it's never snowed on June 16 in Grand Rapids, as long as we've been keeping track.
Yes. And if it's 39 in Grand Rapids, it could have easily been 33 or 34 in Baldwin and Clare County, places like that, Leota. So we can get cool air. Normally the air has to be super dry, and it has to come down with a pretty good wind, and then have the wind go really calm, and it has to be clear and calm out there. So you need everything in place before you get a cool morning like that in late June.
And it's 616 day, June 16. So happy June 16 day to everyone with a 616.
That's interesting. I'm old enough to remember where we, instead of having 616, we had, I was in the Alpine telephone code. So our number was AL17674.
Wow.
So we had numbers instead. And then they put the area codes in because they had, and then of course, we had cell phones and everything. So you needed 2 or 3 numbers, and off we went. But 616 day, that's kind of neat.
Wasn't Grandma a switch operator for a while?
Yes, and in fact, it was interesting because she had a scholarship to go to college, and a funny thing called World War II happened, and because of that, the men left and went off to fight the war, and the women went to work, and Mom was a telephone operator, and then she was actually the one that would put the cords into the machine there. But then she worked her way up where she had an office job and got a company car to drive around. She worked for the phone company for, I think, 11 years until I came along. And then she became a full-time mom because I needed a full-time mom.
Okay, so Kent and Ottawa counties, and then parts of Allegan, Barrie, Ionia, and Montcalm make up the 616 area code. In 1947, the telecommunications industry decided to use area codes. And at first, Michigan had only 3. 616 was one of them. It wasn't until 1999 that Muskegon, Traverse City, and Cadillac took 231 as their area code. And then in 2002, Kalamazoo and Battle Creek broke away to form the 269 area code. And there are 12 area codes in Michigan today.
Well, that's interesting. A lot of good information there. Yeah, I remember when those switches took place. I actually remember when there was a party line where when I was a little kid, I would pick up the phone and there'd be somebody talking on it. And I would have to immediately hang up. You don't want to listen to their conversation, but you'd wait for one person to get done before the next one took the phone over.
Maybe you did want to listen to their conversation. Maybe
I don't know.
Good.
I lived in a pretty boring neighborhood. Nothing much happened.
All right. How many area codes are there in the United States?
Okay. And you said there were 12 in Michigan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if there's 12 in Michigan, and we have Michigan's about, Michigan, an average state population wise, we have 11 million people here in Michigan or something like that. Oh, let's see.
And also something I learned doing this is most of them are geographic area codes, but then there's also area codes for things that don't have to do with geography, like 800 numbers and other kind of special reserve numbers.
Oh, that's right.
Area codes for that too.
We got 800 and 877 and all of that. Okay, so let's see. I'm cheating. I have a pencil and paper. All right. You said there were 12 in Michigan, right?
Yep.
So there are 50 states. So
and let me give you another hint. Michigan is the 10th most populous state in the United States.
10th most populous state in the United States. All right. We had 12 area codes. I would say 450.
That's a pretty good guess. 335.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep, most of them being geographic.
Okay, and 18 non-geographic.
So,
Wow.
not taking any sides, on June 16, 10 years ago today, Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president, and I think we can all agree that the last 10 years have been wild.
And that's the day he came down the escalator, right?
Correct.
I don't remember
As was
anything he
foretold
said
to us
that
by
night,
the
but I
Simpsons.
do remember him coming down the escalator with Melania.
10 years ago, it doesn't seem like it's been that long.
No, it doesn't. Time really flies, especially when you're getting to be my age and you're in the eighth or ninth inning of your life. It goes by pretty fast.
So this got me wondering, what percent of the nationwide popular vote did Ross Perot get in 1992?
I remember Ross Perot. He was
I
an
went to
interesting
his
character.
church when I
I
lived in
think he was an
Texas.
Eagle Scout, by the way. What did you say?
I went to his church when I lived in Texas.
Oh, no kidding.
There were two
Wow.
options on campus. There was the Methodist church that George W. Bush went to when he was in Dallas, and then there was the Presbyterian church down the street, which was Ross Perot's church.
Oh, okay. Ross Perot, he got a pretty good chunk of money, and I think that was one of the reasons that that was Bill Clinton, 1992, the first Bill Clinton. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll guess 15%.
Very good. 18.9.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah.
And according to the internet, likely did not change the outcome of the election.
Yeah, that's probably right. George H.W. Bush had like a 90% approval rating at one point in time after the first Gulf War or something like that. Remember, we visited. When did we go and visit the state capitol in Little Rock? Remember we visited state capitals?
About that age, yeah, about
Yeah.
1992.
I was going to say, because I remember they were selling all this stuff at the state capitol. You could buy pencils with Clinton's picture on them, and Arkansas this and Arkansas that, and T-shirts and everything. It's interesting. Then we got stuck in the elevator in the state capitol in Louisiana.
That'll happen.
Yeah, just crazy. Louisiana's capital is like an office building. It's like the Amway Hotel. It doesn't have a nice dome or anything like that. Interesting.
June 16, 1966, Gerald Ford gave the graduation speech at his alma mater, South High School in Grand Rapids.
Neat.
And fun fact, he was not the president in 1996. He was a congressman representing Michigan, and South High School was open from 1917 until 1968.
I think the building is still there, isn't it? Don't they run it as a jobs corps?
It's a job center now.
Yeah, of some kind. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, he was an Eagle Scout and worked with the Boy Scouts on a couple of projects, and was a very, very pleasant guy. He was a good listener too, which is interesting. He wasn't always talking about himself. He was listening to what you wanted to say.
Okay, so did you know that Michigan had Mormons?
Yes, I believe I did, but not many.
Yes, this is like brand new. I learned this today. June 16, 1856. So Joseph Smith murdered in Illinois, and most of the Mormons, as we all know, went off to Utah with Brigham Young.
Right.
But some went with their leader, Jesse James Strang. And first
to Beaver Island. Yes, I remember that.
And then they went to Beaver Island, where he declares himself king of Beaver Island. But then there were a few people who had gotten in trouble for moral turpitude. I don't remember what they did, but they didn't live up to the social rules, and they decided to get back at him by shooting him in broad daylight. There were witnesses. He lived for 3 weeks. He was paralyzed from his injuries. Eventually, they take the people responsible to Mackinac Island, where they're given sham trials, fined a nominal amount, and not really punished at all. And then a group from Mackinac Island went and kicked 2,600 Mormons off Beaver Island and told them to get out of Michigan.
So it was kind of like an early No Kings rally.
I had no idea that we had Mormons and all that happened, and all that went down on Beaver Island.
I know there was a period when there was some substantial logging going on Beaver Island, and they would just have a boat come in, fill it up with wood, and then take it down to Chicago.
How many people live on Beaver Island? 600. So there must have been more there at the time. That's wild.
Oh yeah, I would think so. And it's a really kind of a hard place to get in and out of in the wintertime. So you have to, for somebody that's an old geezer like me, you have to think about that if you're going to a place that's that isolated.
Have you ever been?
I've never been to Beaver Island, but I would like to go there. I've been to Boys Point
On my
and
list.
Mackinac Island, and what else have I been to? I've never been to the Manitou Islands. I almost got out there when I was single.
You're a good airport traveler. You do real well on our trips.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun flying around
He
all
likes
50 states.
he likes to look out the window and narrate
I do.
the entire time. If you ever end up sitting next to him on a flight, that's what you get.
Right. There was a gal from Alaska that I sat next to on a flight, and the two of us were just yakking up a storm. And finally, I said, "We really ought to be quiet because we're kind of taking over the whole front of the airplane with our conversation."
If you sit next to me, you get silence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference.
And you're often working.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It comes with me everywhere I go.
Writing your articles.
Okay, so Jesse Strang had been a member of the Michigan House of Representatives for the last 3 years of his life. He was originally baptized as a Baptist and then re-baptized as a Mormon, and he was admitted to the New York bar.
Oh, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, interesting times.
And a few more years back, June 16, 1820, the last foreign flag flew over Michigan. Lewis Cass lowered the flag that was flying over Sault Ste. Marie. Michigan was granted statehood in 1837. Britain ceded Michigan originally at the end of the Revolutionary War, but they continued to occupy some forts in Michigan until 1796. They recaptured Detroit and Fort Michilimackinac in 1812, but the Americans quickly took them back, and they didn't fully get out of Drummond Island until 1828. And there was some international court drama about who Drummond Island belonged to, and the international court ruled the United States, but they still took their time getting out of there.
Wasn't Sault Ste. Marie under like 4 different flags at one point in time?
I think so.
Yeah, well, it would be the French, the American, and the British. What else would it be? I thought there was one more up there. Would the Spanish have claimed all of that? No, the French would have. I don't think the Spanish were up that far.
What
Interesting.
nations have claimed Sault Ste. Marie? Let's see.
So
The Anishinaabe, France, the British Empire, United States, and the tribe of Chippewa Indians, according to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had 2 native groups.
Mm-hmm. And then Britain, the U.S., and France.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Okay.
Very interesting stuff.
National Fudge Day. During peak tourist season, how many pounds of fudge does Mackinac Island produce each day?
Wow, that's a good question. June 16th, National Fudge Day.
You may give your answer in pounds or tons.
Let's do tons. Okay, during peak tourist season, let's say there's. I'll guess. Let's see. You'd normally buy like half a pound or something like that. Would that be a typical fudge order? I'm really thinking this one out too much.
I mean, there's usually some kind of like buy 3 get 1 situation going on.
Yeah, that could be, especially toward the end of the year. All right. do I get my pencil out again and try and figure this one out? Let's just give a number. I'll say this is each day. Okay, so it's not going to be.
You've spent $4,000 to stay for 2 nights at the Grand Hotel. Does it really matter?
I guess so.
I mean, it's probably the bucket at that point.
You can have it mailed to somebody too, right? I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah, fudge would keep. All right. Let's see. I'll guess 8,300 pounds.
Very close. 10,000 in 13 fudge shops. And personally, I like to stop at the Kilwins in Petoskey on the way up and the way back. There's a Kilwins here too.
Well, I was up there with daughter number 2, and we had a great time. She is a good hiker, and we hiked all over that island. We walked all the way around the outside of it, the 8.2 miles. We walked all the way around the airport. We walked up to the golf course and back, and all over. It was a great vacation.
Mom and I tandem biked around it once, and we didn't stop the entire time because we didn't know how. We kind of came like crashing in at the end. So we're both pretty short and it was too tall for us. So the only way we were ever going to get off the bike was to like fall over, and it wasn't going to be good. So we only wanted to have that happen once.
Yeah. So how did you get off?
1, 2, 3, crash.
Oh,
We just
wow.
like came rolling back into Main Street and like fell over to the side, and we were okay, but it was ill-advised.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you survived.
Mhm. June 16 is this golfer's birthday. He has won 6 major championships, including the Masters, in 3 different years. He plays golf left-handed, but he's right-handed in general. He graduated from Arizona State and I think is originally from California.
Phil Mickelson.
Very
Yes,
good.
indeed.
Happy birthday,
Lefty,
Phil
they call
Mickelson.
him. Yeah, there were a couple of lefties that were playing in the U.S. Open we were watching. I think one was it McIntyre that was left-handed? I don't know. There were a couple of them there, and they do very well. Mickelson's had a great career, like you said, including the 3 Masters championships.
And Tony Coleman shows us the sun in Hudsonville, Michigan.
That's a pretty picture. That's either a sunrise or a sunset. Sunrise if he's up early. You can see a little bit of a sun pillar trying to form above the sun, which is right down there in the V of the trees. But very pretty shot. And that what you see there is some smoke in the sky. That those lines that go left to right, the right to left. Yeah, that's some thin smoke up there in the sky.
Yeah, it looks like a painting with the way the sun is reflecting.
It is. Yeah,
Really
those
beautiful.
are pretty.
Yeah,
And Tony
thank
has a very nice garage.
And another one from John Scully.
Pretty picture. Beautiful flower there. They have a lot of them. Michigan has a bunch of native wildflowers that are in bloom right now, plus all the ornamental flowers that are planted around the houses and buildings. But thank you, John, for that.
And a fly.
Okay, I was going to say, I kind of have to tilt my head here to see what that is. But of course, it says horsefly, so I guess that, yeah. In fact, there was a fly buzzing around me here out on the porch a few hours ago. And it must have gone away because all the cats are sleeping right now. And if there was a fly buzzing around here, the cats would be chasing it.
So if you've got anything you'd like to have on our show, if you've got a cool photo, science, travel, nature, whatever you've got, send it to us. If you've got any news or information, someone who's really old that's having a birthday, send it to bill@billsteffen.com. And as long as I don't have to click the button on YouTube that it's sensitive comments, that it's sensitive content, we'll be happy to put it on our show. Please hit the subscribe button and help us grow, and tell your friends where they can find us.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank all of you for staying on until the end here. Don't forget, another sunny, warm day coming up today. General east wind, slightly cooler near the lake. It should be mostly dry on Tuesday and warm, maybe mid to upper 80s. And then we have a chance for a big thunderstorm here come late Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening. We'll have more on that for you tomorrow. In the meantime, have a great day.